welcome to the Wayfaring Panda. I'm Annette. Today I'm participating in a YouTube hop with Team Tiny, and the theme for the hop is anything but an A2 size card. So I'm making a Slimline card. So for the card, I'm not using any special dies or stamps to make this card, but you could still make different shapes. So what I did is I'm just using a basic business card envelope, which is 4 1/8 by 9 1/2. So I just took some cardstock and cut it to 9 by 7 1/2 and folded it over, and that gave me the right size for my business envelope. And then I just cut out some Bristol smooth cardstock because I like to use it for ink blending, and I just cut that to 9 by 3 3/4. You don't need special stamps for a Slimline card. I'm just checking to see where I want to put these stamped images that I already cut out. So if you're going to do your Slimline kind of vertical like I'm doing, you want to have some images that are kind of taller, more vertical looking. So these animals holding the balloons work perfect for this. And I just put these out so I could figure out where I want my sentiment. The stamps I'm using are from Hello Bluebird. The little images come from the Carried Away stamp set, and the sentiment I'm using comes from Rainbow Script, and I'm using the one that says, "You make me smile," and that way I can use it for anything, although most likely I'll save it for a birthday card for one of my preschool students. For the embossing, I went over the card first with my embossing buddy to put the powder down so that my embossing powder doesn't stick anywhere except where I stamp. And then I stamp my sentiment with VersaFine clear black ink. And then I go over it with clear embossing powder. And that's just so when I do my ink blending, the ink won't stick to the words. And it'll also help the words pop because I'm going to be using a lot of bright colors on this, so I want my sentiment to show up. Next, I'm going to do some ink blending on my card background, and I'm going to do this as part of a challenge from Hello Bluebird stamps. So the challenge was to use 4 different colors: yellow, orange, red, and a bright pink like fuchsia. So the best way to do that is using inks because that's easy to get the different colors that way. And if you're making a Slimline card and don't have special materials, you can just use a stencil like I'm using and then just go all the way to the top of the card or across the card. So I'm going to start with yellow, which is mustard seed, and then the orange I'm using is spice marmalade. And the closest I had to a fuchsia was picked raspberry, and the last color I'm going to use on top is candied apple. So this is a good way to inspire yourself doing card challenges. A lot of stamp companies have different card challenges through the month, so you can look at those, and it gives you an inspiration of what to do, and also gets you making a card, and you maybe might win a prize. So Hello Bluebird gives away a $50 gift card to whoever gets randomly selected from anyone who submits a picture of their card that they made on Instagram. So you can always check that out. And I will put a link to all the different products that I use in the description below. Some of those will be affiliate links. They don't cost you anything extra to use, but I do get a small commission from any sales that those links generate, and that helps support my videos and my website. Now I will link the Hello Bluebird products that I'm using down below, but those will not be affiliate links because I don't have an affiliation with them, but I do love all their stamps. So I'll just put those below, so if you like the stamps and want to get them, that'll be a link to where you can find those. I want to keep the same colors on my stamped images, so I'm just laying them out so I can decide where they will be and what color will look good on the balloons. And then I just put my animals by the stamp pad that coordinates with the color that I want to color them. That way I know which one I decided will show up on that part of the sky. To add dimension to my card, I'm going to use some of these stamped clouds, and I'm going around the edge of each cloud with some of the colors that I already used for the sky. And I'll leave the inside of the cloud white so it looks like a cloud. I decided I wanted to add some shine to my card, so I'm using Fawn liquid Stardust. I just squirt some on my work surface and add a little bit of water. And then I use a fan brush to splatter it on my card. And I don't know, but my bottle, every time I squeeze it out, it's always looked a little bit yellow. And I decided on this card it wouldn't matter because it's shiny and I added water to it, so it should water it down. But when I did put it on a white cardstock once, you could see the yellowish tone. So I don't know if you use this product regularly, is it usually yellow? I don't know if that's what it should be. Anyway, it does add some shine. I don't know if the camera picked it up. Now I'm going to color my images with Copic markers, and I'm not a real expert with coloring with Copic markers. In fact, I mostly have browns and blacks. So I'm going to color all my animals in the gray tones. So if you are just starting out, if you like to do a lot of animals, that's what I kind of started with, is some gray tones, because most animals can be some kind of gray, and kind of then start getting browns and gradually adding colors. So I don't have a lot of colors. So I know when you're doing an image like a balloon, you want to try to do the darker colors on the outside and go kind of light towards the inside and maybe a highlight so it'll look more dimensional. But I don't have too many red colors, and they didn't really go with necessarily the colors I have. So I'm putting the lids on the screen so you can see what colors I'm doing. And I usually go dark to light and then keep going back and forth till I get a good blend. So some people will do light to dark, and I've heard people say that if you start with dark, that you use less ink than if you start with light. So there's advantages both ways, so just do whichever way works for you. Now, red is also a color that's hard to match up and to blend too. So most of the times you'll see me doing these balloons, I'll only have two colors because, like I said, I don't have too many different colors. So you can blend, and you can even just do one color. That's perfectly fine. And you can get darker colors by just adding more of it. So you can do that on the small images like the ones I'm doing here. It's perfectly fine just to have two. You can also do a tip-to-tip technique. So there's a lot of different ways you can do with just having a less amount of markers, and then just gradually build up the ones that you do have. The other tip I have is if you were doing small images like this, I was getting kind of frustrated because I think I'm a pretty good colorer. I mean, just as colorer, I'm not an artist, but on these small images, it's really hard staying in the line. And I started with using Copic sketch markers, which is the one you'll mostly see me doing. And they have a brush nib and then a wide nib. I always use the brush nib, but you'll see me using really small nibs. And that happened because I accidentally ordered, I think, the original kind ones. You'll see the square looking ones. They have a fine nib. And I found that was a lot easier doing these small images. So if you have a Copic sketch and you prefer having the small images, you can buy smaller nibs to take out the wide nib that if you're coloring these type of images you're never going to use, and just replace it with a small nib. And I found that makes a big difference. And I think they also have brush nibs that you can put on the original if you want a brush nib. It won't be exactly like the one on the sketch, but you can get that, because if you're coloring stamped images, you're probably never going to use that really wide chisel nib. I was going to show the coloring of one of the animals since I did them all the same color. So basically there I'll just do the dark area under the chins and arms and towards the bottom, and then try to leave the top a little bit lighter since the sun would be more on their heads. But I also try to do their faces lighter, because otherwise if you do the face too dark, you end up covering up their nose and eyes and can't see it. Now, one tip people say is to use a Sakura marker to go over the eyes and nose after you color, but I don't have one of those. Now, I don't have it on the video because I accidentally pushed the little dog image too far down, so you just see me coloring its eye before it went off screen. Now, on the card, when I put this together, you will see that my bunny rabbit's body is really dark compared to his head, which after I glued it on, I realized it was too dark, so I did go over again. So I just took a lighter W color, I think W1, and just went over it, and it lightened it up. So there's a trick. If you get it too dark, just go down a couple colors and go over it, and it will lighten it up, as long as you're using paper that can handle the saturation. One other tip I want to give, if you see a lot of people using Copic markers on stamped images, you do not have to use Copic markers. You could use colored pencils, watercolor, whatever you like to use. I used to use watercolor pencils quite a bit before I ever got any Copic markers. Then I just used my Nuvo Deluxe glue to glue my panel onto my card base. And it's good using the glue because then you can kind of move the paper a little bit if you don't get it lined up exactly. I found out this was just a little bit short on one edge. You could see the white card beneath it. So then I just took my blending brush and went over the corner with some candied apple to make it blend in so you didn't see the little white corner. And I just lay all my images out on the card, and then I'm using foam squares to attach all the images and the clouds to my card. That way everything will pop up just a little bit so you can see everything better. As I mentioned earlier, this is a YouTube hop with the Facebook group Team Tiny, and we're a group of YouTubers that have channels of less than 1,000 subscribers, and we do paper crafting. So the good news is, since we all have small channels, you won't see any advertising, and we get together once a month to do a themed hop. So this month we have the theme of anything but A2 size. So hop along to get ideas of making different size cards other than the traditional A2 size card. You can find all the other videos with the hashtag, and you just either type in hashtag Team Tiny August 2022 hop, or you can just click in the hashtag in the description below to populate a list of all the other videos in the hop. I decided to add some glossy accents to the balloons to make them shiny and look more dimensional. And finally, I'm adding some crystal stickles around the clouds for some extra whimsy and pizzazz. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, I'd really appreciate if you can give it a like. If you're not a subscriber, I'd also appreciate if you could subscribe to my channel. For all those who are subscribers, thank you for your continued support, and I hope everyone has a fantastic day.